All right, cool. All right, we are live. So my name is Chris Berry, Castle Wealth Group, certified financial planner and certified law attorney. And today we're at one of our satellite offices. We're in Livonia. And we do these weekly wisdom webinars every Wednesday. And all we do is we answer questions that our clients submit or ask, whether live on the broadcast or sometimes submitted ahead of time. And so also, we always start these with a positive focus, just something positive that happened within the last week or so. For me, a lot of times it revolves around family, and a very proud father. My son, he's made the swim team for middle school, and he had his first swim meet. And in his two individual races, he took first in the heat. So we're pretty excited about that. And then my daughter, she just won her second soccer game in a row. She plays travel select. So it was a good athletic weekend with the kids. So that's my positive focus. So now getting into our webinar today, we're going to talk about whatever questions clients have submitted. So the first question, and I don't have a whiteboard to bring up this time. I'm at satellite office, so you're going to have to just look at me. But what we're going to do, the first question was with regards to annuities. And the question that was submitted asked, how can we get an annuity inside of an IRA into a trust? And so there was a couple pieces to it. So the first thing to understand is that an IRA is like a wrapper. You can have different types of investments inside of that wrapper. You can have annuities, you can have CDs, you can have stocks, you can have bonds, you can have mutual funds, you can have ETFs, you can have buffered ETFs. So there's a lot of different types of assets that you can have inside of the wrapper of the IRA, similar to the wrapper of a Roth, similar to the wrapper of a trust. Think of those as wrappers. Those aren't specific investment types. They're a wrapper. Like a box. So there's different things that you can have in these different types of boxes. And a lot of times what we're doing when we're working with clients is we're helping them take things out of the IRA 401k pre-tax box to get it over to something that's post-tax or maybe in an asset protection trust. So understanding that's a lot of times when we talk about this IRA exit strategy, we're pulling money from these pre-tax accounts strategically, because most people agree that taxes are going up in the future. The reason for that is they're scheduled to go up. We have the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that expires in 2026, where taxes across the board are going up 3 to 5%. And so what that means is if you wait till 2026 to pull money from a pre-tax account like a 401k or IRA, you're going to pay 3 to 5% more tax. Just that's the way the law is scheduled. And then also we're $31 trillion in debt. So a lot of people are concerned about where government is going. And so they think they're going to have to raise taxes by more than just the 3 to 5% that they're scheduled in 2026. So that's why there's a lot of talk of doing things like Roth conversions, which is an IRA exit strategy. We're taking money out of the taxable bucket and moving it over into something that's post-tax or tax-free. So a lot of times what we're doing is we're looking at tax returns. We're looking at what was your adjusted gross income and how much space do we have to be able to pull money out without jumping up into unexpected tax brackets. And I would say a majority of our clients fall into that 22% tax bracket. And the next higher tax bracket is 24%. And that 22% tax bracket is going to 25% in 2026. So if you're at the 22% tax bracket, it may make sense to look at an IRA exit strategy of pulling money, paying a 22 or 24% tax now versus waiting until 2026 and paying a 25% or 28% tax when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires. So that's the first concept, is just taking it from the IRA bucket, putting it into something else that is post-tax. Now, inside of these buckets, we can have different types of investments. And so the question was, let's say I have an IRA account that I want to pull money from for all the reasons we just stated, but it's tied up in an annuity. So annuity is a type of investment, and there's different types of annuities, and there's pros and cons, and I could do a whole webinar on annuities, but the idea is trying to pull money from this annuity. And so the way annuities typically work, and again, I'm generalizing here, is typically they're built on a 10-year chassis, where if you pull all the money out within those 10 years, you may have to pay additional, or you have to pay a fee. Now, there are different strategies to get out of the annuities. One is you can take what's called free withdrawals. So let's say you're in year 3 of annuity, and you want to pull some money out, you could take free withdrawals. And typically that's going to be 10% of the account value. So if it's a $300,000 annuity, you could pull $30,000 out, pay the tax, and invest it somewhere else. Okay. So that's one option. The other option is that, let's say you're past that surrender time period. Maybe you've had the annuity for longer than the 6 years that some are built on, or the 10 years. Then you can pull all the money out, pay the tax, pull it out of the IRA, and invest it somewhere else. So those are the two main ways people pull money out of the annuities. Is they wait till the end of the surrender charge or surrender period, which typically is 10 years. Sometimes it's 6 years, sometimes it's 12 years. But also you have those free withdrawals. So if we're doing an IRA exit strategy of pulling money on an annual basis with that free withdrawals, maybe that gives us enough that we can pull all the money out that we want over that period of time. The other thing is we can just go ahead and say, you know what? I know taxes are going much higher in the future. I know there's going to be a fee to get out of this annuity. Maybe we look at paying the fee, given that we're going to be paying more taxes in the future. I'm not saying everyone, I'm not necessarily advocating it. It's just a case by case basis. And then also there's some annuities that offer a bonus. So if okay, let's say there's a 3% surrender on the current annuity, let's pay that 3%, get it out of the IRA, put it into the trust, and now we could put in an annuity that offers like an 11% bonus to cover that surrender charge. So there's different options. The only time that we're really stuck with regards to annuities where we don't have any planning options is if the annuity is actually annuitized. If the annuity is actually annuitized, and that's flipping on the income rider where you're saying, I'm taking guaranteed income for the rest of my life. Not many people actually end up using those. I'm not a big fan of those traditionally for most of our clients, just because now you're locking yourself into a situation where, let's say you did annuitize it inside of an IRA, you're going to have taxes that you're going to have to pay the rest of your life. And then also if you go into a nursing home, guess what? Those annuity payments, that's just going to the nursing home. Versus if you utilize some other strategies, we can protect it. So yeah, if you do have annuity, we'd have to take a look at the annuity and figure out when you purchase it, figure out what type of annuity it is, and then we develop a plan to help you kind of get out of that, if that's part of the plan. So again, what this question was, all right, I have a pre-tax, let's say IRA annuity. So I have an IRA and I have an annuity inside of the IRA, and I want to get that money out of the IRA, put it in something else like an asset protection trust. So first we have to look at the tax rules around the IRA, and then we have to look at the investment, which is the annuity inside of that IRA. So we have to take a look at those two options to develop the exact IRA exit strategy. And it's a little bit different for every client, but it's a case by case basis. So that was the first question that I had someone submit. Now, let me see if there's any questions or comments that have come in. All right. Now, this is the last question that I had submitted. So if you do have a legal, financial, or tax question that you want me to address, feel free to put it in the Q&A. But the last question that I had submitted was with regards to I-bonds. And we've talked about I-bonds a couple times on these webinars, but the idea behind I-bond right now is that it's an inflation-adjusted bond that offers a guaranteed rate of return. Typically, right now, you're seeing anywhere from, it's been as high as 9%. I think right now we're around 6 or 7%. I don't have it right off the top of my head. But it's a great way given the market volatility right now. A lot of people are scared of putting money in the market. And if you have some cash on hand sitting at a checking or savings account making 0% with an I-bond, if you could get 6, 7, 8, 9% rate of return, you're doing better. There's a lot of limitations on I-bonds, unfortunately. The biggest one is that you can only put in $10,000 per person. So if you're a married couple, each of you could put together a $10,000 I-bond. Now, if you have a trust, if you have a trust, you can do a third I-bond. So you could do $30,000. So one spouse, two spouse, and then trust, you could do $30,000 into an I-bond. Another limitation with I-bonds, interestingly enough, is that in terms of beneficiaries, you can only have one beneficiary on the I-bond. And then also, interesting enough, you cannot name a trust as a beneficiary of an I bond. If you have a trust, understand that you're going to have to name your kids as beneficiaries, not the trust of any I bonds. Now, historically, I bonds have not performed well. It's only during times of big inflation. So that's why everyone's asking about them now. But if you look over time, I bonds have only offered maybe a 1-2% rate return historically. But again, right now with inflation kind of out of control, I bonds still kind of make sense. So that was a question on I bonds. Now it looks like another comment or question comes into play here. IRMA brackets also need to be factored in for Roth conversions, and Arbor are different than federal 22. Yeah, okay. So the comments is going back to the first question of looking at that IRA exit strategy. And again, I'm really generalizing here. There are some other factors that need to be factored into looking at that IRA exit strategy. So if you are jumping from the 22 to the 24% tax bracket, you are going to jump into a next higher Medicare bracket as well. So that's something to take into account, because if you're in the 22% tax bracket, you're at the minimum for Medicare. But if you jump up to the 24% tax bracket, now you're going to pay some additional Medicare premiums. But what's going to happen is that, okay, let's say you do it in 1 year, 2 years in the future, it's kind of weird how it works, but it's going to be 2 years in the future, your Medicare premiums will shoot up. But then if you only did it that 1 year, your Medicare premiums will drop back down. So yeah, you will pay some additional in terms of Medicare premiums. But when we're putting together a comprehensive plan for clients and an IRA exit strategy, if we look at, let's say you had over $1 million of pre-tax accounts and we engage in this IRA exit strategy, we're going to be saving your family potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, not only for your retirement, but also what you leave as a legacy. That is much more than what you would pay in terms of any type of Medicare premiums. But yeah, that is something that when we do walk through that IRA exit strategy, we're always talking to our clients about the fact that, yeah, I don't want you to be surprised that in 2 years, you're going to have a higher Medicare premium if we do get into that 24% tax bracket. And a lot of times we have to remind them when we get there, but it is something to take into account. So yes, you will have some additional Medicare premiums if you do get in the 24% tax bracket. But if you look at it overall in terms of a comprehensive plan, the tax savings typically is going to far outweigh any additional Medicare premiums. So, all right. Any other questions? All right. Looks like we don't have any questions. One other thing, just wrapping up, we are getting back to our in-person educational workshops where we talk about the 3 steps to plan, protect, and preserve what's important, where we talk really building that rule book, building that estate plan. Should I do a will versus a trust? How do we avoid probate? Also, we're talking about long-term care costs, and we're talking about tax planning as well. And we're doing these at our different in our different locations. Tonight, we have one going in Bloomfield Hills. We have Brighton. We have Livonia, Novi. So if you do want to attend, or if you think anyone else in your family or friends wants to attend one of our live in-person workshops, there's no cost to them. You do have to register though, because they're capped in terms of size. Just give our office a call at 844-885-4200, or feel free to reply to the email invite for the webinar today, and we can send you a list of our upcoming workshops. So with that, I want to thank everyone. Make it a great week. Take